12 gates,
12 gates,
12 messengers,
12 messengers,
12 tribes of Israel. 12 gates,
12 gates,
12 messengers,
12 messengers,
12
tribes of Israel.
12 gates,
12 gates,
12 messengers,
12 messengers,
12 tribes of Israel. 12 gates,
12 gates,
12 messengers,
12 messengers,
12 tribes of Israel.
Lebanon, Reuben, Lebanon, Shimon, Teshuvah, welcome back. Lebanon, Levi, Lebanon, Yehuda.
That's okay with you? Okay? So, number one, I want to share with you some things. Now, some of this is going to come out pretty choppy. It's not going to be your typical Rabbi Moshe workshop or teaching where we've got an opening, we make 2 or 3 points, and then we close. Some of this is going to appear very un-Moshe-like, so to speak. That's because I'm throwing things at you. Okay? So I'm dealing with leaders, I'm not dealing with children. I'm dealing with fathers of the faith, young men of the faith, potential young men and women of the faith. So I'm going to throw things at you, and this is not going to really sound like it has any coordinated method to it, and that's true, it doesn't, because you're going to get some of it's going to stick. I'm going to throw a whole bunch of stuff at you, and some of it's going to stick, some of it is not going to stick, but don't worry, that's between you and Yahweh what sticks and what doesn't stick. Amen?
Amen.
One of the things, and some of this is coming out of a book, some of this is coming out of my own experience, so allow me to embellish upon the things that are in the book. The secret in leadership, one of the secrets of leadership, or points of leadership, of being focused and concentrated, is elimination. In other words, the opposite of what the world has taught us. In leadership, as a leader, a congregation leader, a home fellowship leader, a group leader, the less you actually do, the more you get done. Okay? Does that make sense? Sure it does. Because the less you do in your group or congregation, the more you will enable others to do. What you consider a burden, like typing or computer work or answering the phone, somebody else will see as a great opportunity to serve Yahweh. So you're a good leader, you're always working your way out of a job. You're always getting rid of a responsibility and putting it onto someone else. Okay? So one of the secrets of successful leadership is eliminating what you're doing. You're always working your way out of your current job. You're always delegating. Okay, maybe you don't like bookkeeping. And maybe you're keeping 5 or 6 set of books. And the tendency is to think there's no one in the world that can balance the check, my like moi. But there's someone there who has skills of administration, which, by the way, is one of the gifts of the Ruach HaKodesh, the gift of administration. And they're just waiting for you to bring out that gift in them. And by you not delegating those things that you can easily delegate if it wasn't for ego or pride or whatever your problem is, okay, you're actually stifling growth in another individual. Okay? You're actually stifling growth. Because these gifts are in them, and they have the gift of administration, and here you are thinking that you're the only person or individual that knows how to balance your finances. And we can apply that to computer work, answering email. Nobody can answer my email. Now, I don't admire the Sunday system for much, but if Dr. Kennedy answered all his own, Dr. D. James Kennedy, some people say there's a respected pastor in Fort Lauderdale by the name of Dr. Kennedy, roundabout from where I come from. Others say there's a demon called D. James. Now, I don't say that with tongue-in-cheek. I have actually had a guy walk, and I'm certainly not making fun of another person, but I actually had a guy walk into my congregation and claim that we had to pray and fast because there's a demon named P. James Kennedy walking around putting people in bondage. So this is true. This actually happened in our congregation. Now, I never heard of it. I mean, he may have some theology mixed up, but I wouldn't suggest calling brothers demons.
Amen.
Okay, even if they have limited knowledge.
Amen.
So anyway, I don't know where that came from. Okay, as an example, person, and this individual as well. My gift, I think you can see this, is as a teacher. That's my gift. Baruch Hashem. But there's other things I don't do well, like administration or necessarily. I could plan an event, but I don't really want to be planning this event all the years in the future. I want to delegate this to someone who has a better skill at planning and coordinating and putting events together. So one of the problems in leadership, and again, this makes no sense, I'm throwing a lot of things at you, so if it doesn't tie together, please leave me off the hook, okay? I'm dealing with leaders here, a leadership yeshiva, amen? Most of us at some point have bought into a myth that a good leader has to be good at everything. I got to know how to run the children's ministry. I have to know how to run the cooking, make sure there's enough food. I have to make sure that the shul have to come on Tuesday morning and vacuum and clean because Irma's not here. Some of the rabbis are smirking. It's cool. They know of which I speak. And I have to go to the shul and clean up the nursery. I have to clean the windows. I have to call the newspaper and put in the ad for Yom Kippur services because nobody else knows how to put in the ad, okay? This is putting yourselves in bondage. We are limiting ourselves by thinking that we have to be a good rabbi or rebbitzin, we have to be good at everything. The truth is, you've got to be good at your calling, which is usually limited to the gifting Yahweh has given you. You with me? Most of us are, here's the bad news, okay? Most of us are only gifted in a few areas.
That's true. That's true.
We're not going to be great at everything. And that's why Yahweh gives us the opportunity to delegate the things that we're not good at and that we don't like doing. Here's a hint of what you're not good at. You hate doing it. If you hate doing something, you're not good at doing it, and you're not called to do it.
Amen.
And many of you in leadership or prospective leadership will carry burdens that you have no business carrying. Okay? As soon as someone walks in the door, I start checking them out. All right? And I say, potential leader, sheep. They know how to take orders. So I'm immediately thinking of how I can add a person to my team. Doesn't matter if you meet in a little tiny storefront or a little basement, if some church that feels sorry for you. Rents you a room in a little basement somewhere. Because, oh, you know those Jew boys, they don't have no money, we got to help them out. P.S., part of being a good leader is to have enough vision not to put your group in a church.
Good.
Careful.
Good.
Okay?
Good.
The Messianic movement is full of compromising leaders who allow their group to be put in a church, and I'm not picking on anybody, and I'm certainly not picking on people that are my friends in this room, so please forgive me. But the point is, you got to get out of that situation.
It's true.
Okay, because you're shooting your message in the foot. Israel, Israel, Israel. P.S. Thank God we have a roof over our head, but the roof happens to come from Mama Rome. All right? It waters down our message, and I learned the hard way. We had many congregations, several, that and I was happy because there was a Korean church. This was an SBC guy. There was a Korean church. There was a Spanish church. There was a Puerto Rican church. There was a Cubano church. And we were the Jewish church, and this guy was floating on cloud 9.
Oh, yeah.
He was happy. He had a Jewish church. Then I found out, wait a second, I'm not a pastor, and this isn't the church. What am I doing here?
Amen.
In other words, line that up with the vision. Yet you don't have the money? Determine what? I'm going to show you how powerful Yahweh is. Next Shabbat, determine in your heart, you will not meet in that church, and within a week or two, you will have the provision to meet in a different place.
Amen. It happens. It's true.
Okay? Determined in your heart to serve Yahweh, and he must abide by his covenant.
Yes. Amen.
Now I'm not condemning anybody. Been there, done that. Okay? Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So, getting back to good leadership. A good leader, listen, must delegate things they're not strong at, and we don't have to be well-rounded. Okay? I mean, I'm not talking about physically. A lot of us are very physically well-rounded. I'm talking about spiritually. All right? We don't have to be we have to be good at what we're called to do and give others the opportunity to be good at what they're called to do. And instead of feeding your sheep and promoting your sheep, you're holding them back. For instance, I'll give you an example. A rabbi can do his liturgy, can he not? A rabbi can do his Torah service, can he not?
Amen.
But why do it? Isn't it easier to delegate that responsibility so you can pray and be meditating and relaxed and waiting on the word of Yahweh? Raise up someone in your congregation. How hard is it to raise up a chazan? How hard is it to raise up a cantor? Not hard. Invite them over for dinner, ask your wife to leave the room, and go over 2 hours of Hebrew with them, and you're in business. Hello? Or if your wife knows Hebrew, have her sit in. So, is that, we got the microphone working, totally. Can we get a little bit more bass in it, please, as much as possible? Okay, so, a lot of time we dedicate ourselves to tasks that we're not good at. Make sense? We do things we're not good at. And then we're reluctant to relinquish those things to other people when that actually will become an opportunity for them. Make sense? So write this down. Only do what you can do. Only do what you can do. Is that the most base we get in this thing? Is that the most base? Okay. Only do what you can do. Okay. Where are we here? Okay. When a leader steps away from his core competencies, his effectiveness diminishes. Okay? When you get away from the thing or two or three that you're good at, your effectiveness will diminish greatly. For instance, I've met a lot of rabbis and pastors. You can keep it there. If I need to. Huh? Oh, it's in the camera. Okay. I've met a lot of rabbis and pastors who can't counsel worth a nickel, but they've been told by cemetery or someone else's idea of what a leader does that they have to do counseling. All right? And if you can't do counseling, then you're not a leader. Well, guess what? I'm not a very good counselor. Because I tell you, thus saith Yahweh, geg gesund hey. All right? You don't want to do it, don't come back and see me. I already told you what Yahweh said. I don't have the patience to work through these problems with you. All right? I'm not good at that. So I can knock my head off. Well, I think I'll recommend a session of 12. Let's make it 12 sessions. 12 sessions? I can barely deal with 12 tribes. So, why are you counseling? Because someone told you you have to be a good counselor to be an effective rabbi or pastor. Wrong! There's probably someone in your, if the need for counseling exists in your group or congregation, then you delegate that and you ask Yahweh to show you what person has the fruit of patience to deal with that situation. So you don't get away from your core competency. You will find that successful leaders are very rarely well-rounded as the world thinks. Oh, he's good in everything. Everything he touches turns to gold. Okay? No. Good leaders, or successful leaders, are men and women of focus. Make sense? Not only they do a few things well, they know what they want done, and nothing gets them off that vision. Nothing. Nothing, nobody, no demon, no principality gets them off that vision. When a leader strives to be all things to all people and become balanced, he will never excel. Make sense? He'll never excel at what he's good at, what he or she is called to do. When a leader attempts to be well-rounded, he brings down the entire organization around his limited ability. Because if he can't do it and nobody else is going to do it because the leader refuses to let them do it, now the whole organization goes to a certain level and no further. You follow me? The less you do in your group and your congregation, the more effective you're going to be, as long as you know what the vision and what your calling is. Amen. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. There's a lot to cover, so to put it bluntly, as this little booklet says, there are things you must stay away from, that you must stay out of, like getting the Paschal lamb ready. Well, how are you going to teach the people about Pesach and start cooking the lamb at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Right? Does this make sense? You cannot do all things. Leaders who are successful in one area assume they have competency in other areas. That's not necessarily true. Yeah, you can't assume that. Another false notion about leadership is we have been taught or assumed that leaders, great leaders, let's say great leaders, have no weaknesses. We know that's not true. So, in other words, we've been taught that if a leader has weaknesses, they should do what? Hide those weaknesses, right? Well, guess what? People already know your weaknesses, even though you don't. So you might as well admit your weaknesses, and take your weaknesses, and delegate it to somebody else, and give it over to somebody else who could excel in your weaknesses. Okay? Most people already know their weaknesses. I know my weaknesses, you know your weaknesses. So, I'm going to go fast. Again, it's not a typical 4-part Moshe sermon, so I don't care. Just I'm throwing stuff at you. And at some point, light bulbs are going to click on. An inability to own up to a person's shortcomings is, of course, usually rooted in some sort of insecurity. It takes a certain amount of security to admit weakness. True?
Yes.
But a good leader finds out that admitting weakness is a sign of strength.
Hallelujah.
A good leader realizes when a person is secure enough to admit weakness, it's actually a sign of strength.